Hello everyone, I thought I would show you all the different types of Fortuneteller teacups that is available on my website and in my Etsy store. So I'll go through them one by one. This teacup here has my gold standard 32 black and white images, and these images are based on tasseography symbols from the late 1700s. Now the word tasseography means the art of divination of symbols, usually in a beverage. So it was tea, it was coffee, it was wine sediment, but it also includes molten lead and wax. So that's a whole other form of divination. So that's the 32 symbols. This one here are 22 major arcana tarot symbols. Some people call it tarot. Here in Australia, we often call it tarot. So that's the 22 major arcana symbols. And this one is my latest beauty, and it's based on flowers or floriography. And floriography goes right back to the Victorian days, where they would give flowers to mean certain things. They would give a flower to pledge love. They would give a flower if you felt someone was cheating on you, and so on. So it is based on Victorian flowers. The other one is my Zodiac and planet teacups, and these have all the planets and the 12 zodiac symbols in it. And this one is one of my favorites as well, which is all the numerology symbols. And the numbers in numerology don't go just from 1 to 9, where a lot of people think that. They actually include 0 through to 9, and then the 3 master numbers, which is 11, 22, and 33. So I'm going to swirl each one of these teacups, and I'll be right back to show you how we do a reading. Here is our numerology teacup. So I'm going to use a scenario of a young girl who hasn't had a great deal of luck in love. So she's been chatting to a young fellow she met online for several weeks now, but they are finally going to meet up with each other. So she's looking to wonder, what's this fellow like and how will things pan out with her and this young fellow? So let's have a look. Okay, so we've got a little bit more tea this time. So we've got tea here sitting on the 0. It's not quite on the 8, but it's very close to it, so I would actually count that on the 8. We've got tea here sitting on the 4. Also got another bit of tea sitting on 0 up here, and again that's not quite on the 2, but to me it's close enough as a cluster. So for her question on how is she going to go with her date and this man, very first thing is when I see 8, 8 is often a number around money and abundance, which is a very good sign. But I'd also look at this when she's meeting up with someone, this fellow, for the first time. I can't help but look at that and say, make sure the guy offers to at least pay himself and doesn't expect you to pay for the whole dinner or the night out. Because sometimes when I've seen these particular numbers come up with people, it can be where they can be really stingy and not wanting to pay. So I'd look at that and say, make sure he doesn't have hands in very deep pockets, and that you set out the boundaries, start off that I'll pay for myself and you pay for yourself. Otherwise you could be left with a very large drinks bill. The 0 here is a lovely one for the young lady herself, because I'd say you have such a beautiful inner part of you and your soul is gorgeous, but you do need to know that you've got these gifts to offer people, and don't be so afraid of not show these gifts to yourself. And the number 4 here is a lovely symbol too, which tells me very good, strong 4 walls, which is good security, and it can mean home and family base. So I'd look at this and say this date is probably very well structured and how things will go. Up here we've got again the T near the 2, and 2 is about the union or togetherness, and it's often the number of being considerate and sensitive and communication, all of those lovely things, but it's very much a union, which tells me this person could be very good for you, because two things, I see a union here and I see very good grounding and family orientated, but you've also got the 0 up here and the 0 down here, which still tells me though you're not showing or expressing your own gifts that you have within. So that would be my advice to our young lady who's looking for love and going out on this date. It does have some very positive aspects to it. The only one I'm sensing a negative would be the 8, which tells me make sure that you are not stuck with the bill. So let's go on to our teacup, which has the 22 major arcana symbols in it. And I'll use a scenario this time of a lady looking to move interstate. She's leaving her family and she's wondering how the move will go interstate so she can have a fresh new beginning by herself and leave all her troubles and worries behind. So it's a whole new reinventing of herself. So let's have a look and see how this lady's new journey is going to go. Okay, now I warn you, I am a terrible tarot reader. It's not my first love, and I'm merely catering to the need when everyone said to me, do a tarot cup, Karin. So I'm a terrible tarot reader. So we have T here on the Chariot, a little bit on the Lovers, a little bit here on the Strength, a little bit here on Temperance, and she's also got some down here on Death. So the first symbol I'm looking at here is the Chariot. So the Chariot is about the successes and her control and the direction that she's taken. It is about movement, so it is an action sign. So I'd first look at that and say, yes, this is probably a very good journey for you to begin, because it means you're going to have great success and you know where you're heading. So stay on that path and continue the way forward. The next symbol here we have is the Lovers. And the Lovers are often, everybody thinks of lovers as in partnerships. But this lady's moving on her own. So the Lovers, when I would see that in this instance, would still tell me, though, a good union for her. Her and the relocation will mould together so beautifully. These are really quite lovely symbols that she's got there. So we then have T here on the Strength. And the Strength symbol here is about her inner strength, her bravery, her courage. Literally think of the lion itself. So it stands tall in its power, leader of the pack and so on. Again, I look at this and say she has taken some major steps in order to do this. And I look at it and say she's got the guts and the sheer determination in order to carry it off and move forward with it. So our next symbol that we have here is T on Temperance. So Temperance is about patience and balance, all of that type of thing, everything in moderation as such. That again ties in really nice with her others, because it would tell me though things where she may be feeling a little bit insecure or maybe feeling a little bit restless in the beginning, where she doesn't find her feet or her stability quite right. I would look at that and say, it's okay. Give yourself the time to do so. Patience is a virtue and it will bring about something good and positive for you. So your other symbol, we have a little bit of T down here, is on the Death symbol. There's even a tiny wee bit on the Tower. So the Death symbol there is about the endings, and often it doesn't mean literal death, it means major changes. So it's not always a negative when people get things like the Tower or the Death symbols, because I look at that and say, you're leaving old wounds behind you, ready for new beginnings. And I'd look at that and say, yes, it's time, high time for your change and transformation. The little bit of T on the Tower, again, would tell me whole new beginning, new awakening, rebirth when I look at this. So overall, this young lady's move is absolutely brilliant for her. And I've got to praise her for her sheer strength and determination and the courage to say, hey, I'm done, I'm moving. And I think that is just wonderful to see. So let's have a look at the teacup first of all. And this beautiful purple teacup is a limited edition, and I only have so many left of these. They have been hot property and flown off the shelf, and they will not be reproduced. So once they are gone, they are gone. So let's have a look what's in this teacup, and we'll have a look. Now, most people would look at a teacup there and they'd say, Karin, there's no tea left in the cup. But this actually is not true. You get a lot of information from very little leaves. And a Fortuneteller teacup, the way we use them is, or the easiest way is, you read simply the symbols that the blobs of tea land on. So this one here, we've got tea on the Aquarius water signs. We also have, where am I? Got a bit of tea here. Let me have a look. I'll just move it slightly. That's on Sagittarius. And we've also got a little bit of tea sitting there, and that's on Gemini. So we look at those symbols and we go into your little booklets, and you get a booklet with these, and you look up the meanings of those symbols and their keyword meanings in my books, and you would then go through and join the keywords together. Just see, I haven't got my book there at the moment, so all right, bear with me. So your Aquarius symbol, it's often, or the key word is I know. And you probably think, oh yeah, typical know-it-all. And yes, it can be. I have a child that is an Aquarian, and yes, very much of that. But it's also got a lot of good attributes about being clever, intuitive, freedom-loving. They're very friendly people and often very sincere and honest. We have also the T down here on the Gemini, and that's keywords there of I think. And again, we have these in the book where it's written there. So Geminis, again, very, very people-orientated, very versatile. Often the Gemini is the 2-in-1, so they are sociable. They prefer to be in with other people, but again, curious and wonderment. You have T sitting here on the Sagittarian. I always referred to Sagittarians many years ago as amorous archer, the lovers. So, but Sagittarian, outgoing, optimistic, the adventurer, like to do things though, very independent. It's almost like, no, I've got this and I know what I'm doing. So we've got 3 main symbols there. And if we are going to ask a Fortuneteller teacup a specific question as such, so let's say a young fellow who's applying for a job outside of the organisation that he's currently in, and if I have these 3 symbols up there, there would tell me you've got the skill sets in order to do this because you are quite versatile, and it means you can multitask even if you are brain's thinking one thing and your hands are doing another. You've got this really in control, which is great. Don't be too much on the ego side though. Show your confidence and your achievements, that you are willing to rise with the company and you'll be up for any promotion or leadership roles that there can be, because you do have that skill to do so, but just be cautious on giving the ego on that side of it. But again, with your Aquarian here too though, it's like, yes, you can have fun along the way with the job, but show again your innovative side, show your creativity on your great new ideas, and just show them the honesty and the truth side of you. Because I'd look at this and say, you've got a really good chance of getting that job, because these symbols here show me some beautiful positivity in looking forward on that role. So let's go through to the next teacup, and this one I'm using my Floriography teacup, which is my new design of flowers, and I just love. I can't tell you how much I love these flowers. They are just sensational. And this one, I couldn't help myself. I had to keep these. I'm terrible for keeping teacups, and I just love this because it reminds me of old vintage teacups. So let's have a look. Now I will use a different scenario. I'll use this one about, trying to think. Say let's has two companies and they're looking at merging together. So each company has ran very successfully on their own and they're deciding to pull all resources together and make one big company and really hit the world by storm. So it's not me, trust me. I'm not a big company. So I just thought it's a good scenario. Why not? 1, 2, 3. Let's have a look what's in the cup. Now with these flowers teacups, I've made it really simple for you so you don't have to actually recognise the flowers themselves. I've actually put a number with each of the symbols. So here I've got T on number 1, and number 1 is aloe, like aloe vera, A-L-O-E. There's also a little bit of T here on number 12, and number 12 is violet. T down here on number 6, and that is the rose. We've got T down here, number 13, and number 13 is Sweet William flowers. They're really beautiful. And I'll just tip out the drops. There's a bit of T on the butterfly, and the butterfly is not numbered because I just threw in a couple of butterflies and a bee here and there just for the sake of it, because we've got to have butterflies and bees in the garden, don't we? There's also a bit of T sitting here on number 19, and that's the bird of paradise. Beautiful, stunning flower. There's also a bit of T here on number 15, and number 15 is belladonna. And a lot of you witches out there would know all about belladonna. And that's all the T that's sitting there. So we are going to have a look at each flower and what it means. Then we're going to string it together for our two company clients question. So down here we've got, like I said, T on number 5, which is the pansy. So pansy is about thoughts, it's cheery. It's a lovely one about looking back on things. So maybe in this company where they have to stop and think about what have I done and brought to the table, what's the other company brought to the table, and that's not a bad thing. The important thing with pansy though is they need to be make sure that they don't miss a trick or any of the fine print. So thoughtless, not thoughtful, and also they need to be careful of like things like contracts and that, and just take more care on what they're looking at. Now, T on the violets, which is number 12. Violets are a beautiful symbol to you of loyalty and commitment, so forth. They're a peace sign. That's really good to see that two companies are merging together like that, because it would tell me both are more open and honest, and it would mean there's loyalty to each other. If each one is loyal, they'll bring together loyalty to the table for both of them. Number 6 is the rose, and rose is all about beauty and love and perfection and all those lovely things. The rose, though, would tell me they probably need to work a little bit harder on looking further down the track rather than, okay, we're going to merge together and we'll hit the world by storm. But they need to make sure that they're long-lasting and that they do have what it takes to really be a powerhouse as the two together. Both are passionate in what they have, but they do need to think about long-term and the future of what's coming for them. T on number 1 of the aloe vera, that's a lovely symbol of wisdom and healing and luck, some things that are good. It can be, though, where there may be some grief or some sorrow in its negative, but with so many positive things that are happening here around it, I would see this here and say they've both got a wealth of knowledge to bring to the table, and I think this will be a really positive merger between them. T on the butterfly. Butterfly is fickle, so it would mean, again, they need to think about things that is long-lasting, things that they can weather the storms through thick and thin, and literally learn to fly. T down here on Sweet William, and Sweet William is about skill set and brave and joy. Again, lots of flowers have joy, but Sweet Williams is more about your skills, so what you do have. So the two merging together, Company A may be really strong in certain areas and Company B may be strong in the other areas. So it's not a bad one of the merging the two together with the skills that they need. T here on 19, the bird of paradise. Beautiful symbol of respect. It's wealth and affluence too. Bird of paradise in its folklore was only the luxurious or the affluent ever had bird of paradise, either in their gardens or they would choose to pick and display them in their house. And it's because they were so difficult to grow, so it was only that the idle rich could afford them. So the bird of paradise would still mean great affluence and prosperity that they will have. Now the T on the belladonna at number 15. Belladonna doesn't have any positives to it. It does mean things where warnings and secrets and falsehoods and so on. So that, out of all of those, is the one that would scream the loudest, because there would tell me, double check your fine print. The one who comes to you as the company, rather than the two of them wouldn't come to see me as a client, one would probably come. Very rare to get two. But the belladonna coming up there, I would look at that straight away and say, be really cautious. Double check your paperwork, make sure everything is real, check their logs, have your accountant go through it, because I'd hate to see all this positive that's here go belly up from you neglecting something. So that's how we read our flower teacup, which is Floriography. And isn't she just a beauty? So I do hope you enjoy my fortune teller teacups, and I thought this would be a wonderful video for you and a great learning experience. All these products are available on my website, as I have been merging a lot of my property goods over to the website, but you still got the options of which you wish to go to the website or if you wish to go to Etsy. My website, however, is usually cheaper than Etsy because we are not incurring any fees by a third party. Have a great day, everyone, and thank you. This one is using my classic 32 symbols in the teacups, and I will use the scenario of a young lady and her husband have decided to go their separate ways after many years together, and she's feeling a little bit scared, but they both agreed that they can't move forward together as a couple, so they are best to part ways. So she's really having a wonder, what's out there in the future for me? So we're really looking in general directions for this young lady. So we allow the symbols to tell us the topics and the subject matter. So I love this teacup. This is my personal one because I love mint green, and look at all that gold. I don't have too many of these either. So let's have a look at the symbols. We've got, when we get T very, very close to a symbol like that, it really comes down to the person who's reading the cup. Do they want to read it if it's not touching? Me personally, I tend to read them, especially when there's not a huge amount there. I always say it's in the radius close enough. So we've got T near the crossroads. And the crossroads is about where she is literally standing at the fork in the road, and she's looking, do I choose option A or option B? T on there would tell me either path that she chooses, she will choose wisely, but she has to learn to trust herself to choose wisely. So I'll come around to the sides first. Oh, this is really quite lovely. When we see T sitting on the baby pram, or the baby carriage, some people call it, Baby carriage means new beginnings, and it's usually new beginnings that you hold dear to your heart, which gives you joy and the smiles that you hold in your heart within. And to have tea on the baby carriage there would tell me many new beginnings for you. Embrace them, learn to love it, give it great gratitude. Down here we've got a bit of tea on the snake, and there's also a tiny wee bit here on the end of the scythe or the sickle or the scythe. It's called in many different things from whichever country you're from. Here we would call it a sickle because our cane cutters would use it. So tea here we've got on the snake. Now everyone sees these two symbols as negative, negative, negative. I look at these here and I'd say the snake there, she's actually ready for shedding the old and allowing the new to come in, because a snake is about renewal, which means, yes, things may be hard, it may be difficult. Always think of a snake too, literally, that can tie itself up in knots, which means it may be convoluted getting out of this relationship, and it may take a while, but you will unravel these knots in order to shed your skin for the new beginning that you're ready for. The bit of tea on the end of the scythe as well would tell me, cut away the bad, embrace the new. So, and it's right on the tip of the scythe, which tells me she is at that turning point, which is cut away negative, which was the relationship that they both agreed to end. So even with only 4 tea leaves, this lady, we can give her full advice on 4 tea leaves. So don't always think you have to have a hurricane of tea in your cup in order to get a reading out of it. Sometimes that less is more is the better way to go. So let's have a look at my lucky last teacup.